still in a state of shock after seeing and learning about the horrific event in Las Vegas Sunday night. Speaker and author Andy Feld offers some insight on how we can begin personally to cope and as a nation. It's good to have you on, Andy.
Good to be back. Thanks.
You know, it's a very sad time for
Yes.
America. I mean, after Las Vegas, but before that, a lot of hurricanes. So a lot of death, a lot of horrible tragedies. What's the best way for us to start processing all of this?
You know, it really is different for everyone. It's a cliche, but it's different. And it would be almost arrogant of me to speak to those who lost loved ones in hurricanes or lost loved ones in Las Vegas and have me say this is the way you should cope with it. We all cope with it differently. How do we cope with fear and violence and upset? It's different ways. One thing for sure is we can't just suppress it. We have to feel it at the moment. And feeling it at the moment is, you know, we handle that in different ways. For me, I like to send prayers. Send prayers and send light to the families and to the injured party. That helps for me. And it also helps for me just to get back on track. And we've spoken of this before, is to get to a place of my own appreciation and gratitude. Just, I mean, you and I are sitting here today. We're in a nice warm studio. We had our water and our food today, and we have our clothing and our transportation.
We woke up alive today.
We did.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's how we get ourselves. That's back on the right track, is just those few little moments of just appreciation and gratitude.
Be thankful for what you have.
For what we have, absolutely.
And Andy, you made a good point there, not to suppress anything. So there are a lot of emotions going on. It's important to talk about those emotions. How do you talk about it to children?
I think, you know, that's a tough one. My answer would be you have to point out the other side of the story. How many millions and millions of people on this planet were not shot, we're not victims of earthquakes, we're not victims of hurricanes. How for millions and millions of people, life is going on perfectly fine. Yes, certain things happen, but the overwhelming majority of people on this planet are not having that occur to them. And I think that's the point. You know, the way the media is just so present and the immediacy of it today, it makes us feel sometimes like this is just happening to everybody all the time. But really, when you think about it, it's not.
Well, social media is present these days compared to like in the 80s and the 70s. Yeah. So you see it on social media, you see it on TV, and you hear it on the radio, and sometimes you just personally need to kind of get away from it and walk away, and it's hard to do at times.
Well, it's very hard, and you know, there's certain people who, and I'm sure you've run into them, like, boy, I'm not comfortable leaving my house. I'm not comfortable going to a sporting event or a concert anymore. I'm not comfortable going on an airplane. So where do we draw that line about living our life or being just afraid to exist? And I think for me, it's just always reminding myself about how many, and I always use the term, millions of people, it's not occurring. It's terrible. I feel the grief. I feel the pain. Who doesn't? I'd say my prayers, but we also have to go on with our life, which is relatively short as well.
Yeah, that's true. And it's important to stay positive in life. One thing I always do, I try and go to sleep at night and wake up with something positive in my mind. How do you do it? How do you stay positive?
Well, I mean, that's exactly right. I say a prayer before I go to bed. I bring light in. And the first thing I do, and it's in my books, the first thing I do every single morning is I smile. You know, no matter how I feel when I get up, you know, I smile. And I try and create my life, at least mentally, in a positive way I'd like it to be for that day. Does it always go that way? Of course not. Things happen. You know, you run into traffic, you have a disagreement with somebody.
But it's a choice.
It is a choice. And that realization that we are accountable for our own personal life, there's a tremendous amount of power in personal accountability.
So what would you say to someone who, like you suggested earlier, wants to run away from it all?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go to a concert venue, it could happen to me. I don't want to go to school, it can happen to me.
Great point. And who doesn't think about that? You know, when something like this happens, I just want to run away to a beach somewhere, or I want to go to a remote mountain. But what you all have to remember is when we run away, who do we take with us? Ourselves. You know, and wherever we run away, we still take our heart, we still take who we are. So to be sitting on a mountain in the middle of nowhere and all this, and just filled with pain and disgust and anger, what are you running away from? You still take yourself with you. So running away typically isn't going to solve too many problems. What you have to do is work from within.
You know, something I've always remembered from you, and if you wouldn't mind sharing it again for our listeners, we celebrated 13 years of Colorado and Company, believe it or not, here in Denver, in Colorado. Yeah. And you were one of the first on the show, and you talk about think, speak, feel.
Yeah. Well, being accountable and creating our life, the way we create is with our thoughts, with our emotions, and with our spoken words.
Right.
And when your thoughts, emotions, spoken words, and beliefs line up with the positive things you want in life, you begin to create those things for you. And whenever the opposite occurs, you can't be wanting this wonderful, beautiful life and your thoughts and emotions all day long are on fear and despair. It just doesn't happen. And that's where the practice of meditation, for instance, comes into being, or just, you know, walking in nature. When you can get inside your own head, your own heart, and really, Denise, watch those spoken words. You know, sometimes we believe something and we speak something out. You've got to be able to stop those words when they're the opposite of what you want.
Is that how you find joy through the tragedy, is meditation and stop those spoken words, to just to quiet out all the noise and to close your eyes and think about positive?
Well, I do. And, you know, you can call it meditation, you could call it just breathing, but for me it's just taking a moment of time. Sometimes, I used to call it, and I put it in my books, I call it a 60-second vacation.
Yeah, that's so true.
You know, I used to have a big poster in my office when I was stressed out about work all the time, and this poster was of this, I love skiing, and the poster was of powder skiing and the back bowls of Vail. And oftentimes when work just got too stressful, or life, I would just lock my door, put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and take a 60-second vacation.
And that's so important. It is so important. If you haven't tried it, you have to start doing that at least once a day, maybe twice a day. Thank you for your words. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Always great to come here. Thanks for having me.
You can log on to andyfeld.net. That's his website, andyfeld.net, to receive his newsletter. Plus, get this, enjoy 3 free chapters of his book, We're Tipping Over. You can also send Andy an email or join him on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. He's a great guy. You'll enjoy it.